Hello, dear friends, and welcome back to Pause with Prudence. I'm so glad you're here. This is a space for reflection, for quiet conversation, and for honest questions about faith, life, and what it means to live awake. Maybe you're one who gathered here, you're walking a road that's not quite inside traditional religion anymore, but you still deeply are drawn to the sacred. Maybe you're asking new questions, sometimes even uncomfortable ones. Well, today we will be addressing the question, what's the difference between being religious and being spiritual? I hear this again and again wherever I go. For some of you, the word religious might stir memories of pews and prayers and sermons and Sunday school. And for others, it may bring a hint of resistance, a remembrance of rules and expectations and institutions that no longer feel like home. And yet for many, religion has also held beauty in shared songs, seasons of worship, and a deep comfort of belonging to something larger than yourself. So let's explore this together, not to divide religion and spirituality, but to understand how they are different, but how they also might serve each other. Hopefully, you will find your place. When people hear the word religion, it often carries mixed meanings. At its best, religion is a structure, a container of faith, and a rhythm for the soul. It gives shape to the longings for God through story and ritual and tradition and community. In every culture and across every century, religion has offered sacred patterns, prayers to say, songs to sing, ways to mark births and deaths, feasting and fasting. It helps us remember that we're not the first to ask the great questions, that others have walked this path before us. Religion can root us in wisdom that's larger than our own experience. It can teach us disciplines that shape the heart over time, gratitude, humility, service, forgiveness. When practiced with sincerity, religion becomes a trellis where faith can grow. But we also know the shadows and the downside of religion. Unfortunately, some very atrocious things have happened in the name of religion. But I won't talk about that now. Religion can harden into rule-keeping. It can become more about conformity than transformation, more about protecting beliefs than awakening love. Sometimes we find that religion asks for obedience at the expense of honesty, and that's when something deep inside begins to ache for freedom. Maybe that's part of your story. You may have felt that quiet nudge the moment you realized the motion of religion was no longer nurturing your spirit. It seemed the rituals still looked the same, but the life had gone out of them. I was raised in a traditional conservative Baptist home. The rules I kept were not bothering me until I reached college, when I realized there was little life in me that represented being fully alive. I was known for what I couldn't do rather than what I could. I was going through the motions, keeping the rules, but I knew there was more. I was missing that day-to-day encounter with God that I knew was possible. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. That ache for something more is not about rebellion. It's about awakening. Hopefully, I can redefine religion for what it is supposed to be rather than what it has become. Religion used properly can be a doorway into the sacred, even though it's not the sacred itself. It's like the finger pointing to the moon, as the old saying goes, but not the moon. And sometimes we confuse the pointing with the presence. Now let's talk about spirituality for a moment. If religion is about belonging to a structure, spirituality is about belonging to the mystery itself, the mystery of presence. For me, it is personal. It's an inner experience of the sacred, the direct knowing that I am a part of something vast and luminous, that God, the Spirit, and love is not just somewhere out there, but it's moving in and through my ordinary life. Spirituality shows up in the quiet awareness that everything is connected and everything belongs. In the moments when you breathe slow, when you notice sunlight on the water and clouds forming in the sky, when you feel love rise in your chest for no reason at all. For me, my spirituality begins with a personal relationship with God through Jesus. If you are aware of the life of Jesus, he was not religious per se. But that discussion is for another time. Many people who have stepped away from organized religion say, I'm not religious, but I am spiritual. And usually what they mean is, I still long for God, but not the God of fear and exclusion. I still pray, but maybe not in words anymore. I still believe, but in a way that feels open and real. That longing is sacred too. The beauty of spirituality is its freedom. It doesn't require you to belong to a system. It honors intuition and creativity and that quiet voice within. And even spirituality has its shadows. Without grounding, it can drift into self-focus and endless seeking without finding rest. It can turn into a kind of spiritual consumerism, always chasing the next insight, the next retreat, the next revelation, but never integrating what has been given. True spirituality, the kind that matures the soul, isn't about escaping the world. It's about waking up in the world. It's about embodying love, not just feeling inspired by it. It's an encounter with something greater than yourself, and for me, that's God. When we say we're spiritual, what we often mean is that we want an authentic connection. We want to know God, not just about God. We want to feel the presence that religion once promised, but doesn't always deliver. And that desire, that hunger for realness, can actually lead us back to the heart of what religion was always meant to be. So maybe the question isn't which one is right, religion or spirituality. Maybe it's, how can these two dance together? Think about this for a moment. Religion without spirituality becomes an empty ritual. Spirituality without form and grounding can become vague and self-centered. But when they meet, something whole emerges. I see this happening in our society today. There's a running away from religion, which can give a base or grounding, and a running towards spirituality, which seems to be self-centered and allows culture to determine what it is, and often giving up the important teachings of Jesus and traditions. We must be aware of that tendency. A healthy religious life always has spirituality at the center, a living connection with the sacred God that gives meaning to the ritual. When religion and spirituality meet, something whole happens. A deep spiritual life often borrows wisdom from religion's rhythms, the times of prayer and the seasons of reflection and the wisdom of ancestors who have walked with God. Imagine religion as a cup and spirituality as the water. The cup gives form and the water gives life, but neither is complete without the other. Perhaps what many of you are doing in this season of faith is rebuilding your cup, reshaping it so that it can hold the living water again. Maybe you still light a candle when you pray, or maybe you still whisper the old words that once brought comfort, or maybe your sacred moments now happen on the morning walk or in the quiet stillness before the day begins. Wherever you find that sense of presence, that's holy ground. Because spirituality doesn't mean you have to abandon faith traditions. It means you learn to live from center rather than from circumference. It's the movement from form to essence, from obligation to love, from fear to freedom. I believe that every spiritual tradition at its heart has always longed for us to discover this, but has lost its way. Let's pause together for a moment and take a slow breath and a gentle exhale. If you'd like, place your hand over your heart and notice what's stirring there as you hear these words. Religion and spirituality are not enemies. They're languages of longing. Both are ways to reach for God, and both can be ways that God reaches for us. So as I close, you might ask yourself, where do I most often sense the sacred or God? Is it within ritual, familiar words, shared songs, ancient prayers? Or is it in ordinary life, in silence, in nature, in laughter, and in kindness? Wherever love is, there is God's Spirit, and maybe that's the truest definition of both religion and spirituality. Any way of being that awakens love in us and through us. As you go into your day, may you walk with a heart both grounded and open, rooted in wisdom, and alive to wonder. May your faith be spacious and honest and kind. Thank you for pausing here with me today, and until next time. If you have questions you'd like for me to respond to, I'd love to hear from you. You can email me at prudence@pausewithprudence.com. I don't pretend to have all the answers, but I gladly share what I'm learning along the way. And if you'd like to go deeper and want reminders of today's episode, you can download the pause page for this episode at www.pausewithprudence.com.